Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do these without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to say thank you to all of them right now. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to say thank you to our platinum sponsors, including Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where teams communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. And Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Michael Harrison. Mike's athletic director at Orange Park High School in Orange Park, Florida. Mike, welcome to the program.
Absolutely honored to be on this podcast with you. I'm kind of humbled to be invited and included.
We look for people that are making a difference, and you're doing a great job down there at Orange Park. Well, as you know, the life of an AD is very busy, so we're going to jump right into it. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and how your love of sports kind of got you into this business of athletic administration.
I might be one of the blessed ones because I'm actually working at the school I graduated from. I am a homegrown Orange Park kid. My parents still live 1.5 miles away from school here. So Raider blood runs deep in me. And from growing up and playing Little League baseball and basketball and everything else, it was Raider athletics. And then stayed around here, went locally to college, went UNF, became an Osprey. And that was my journey. But, getting an opportunity to come back and be at home was something that was just a dream come true.
We'll talk about that transition from, say, University of North Florida to, that first teaching and coaching job.
I graduated college in 1995 with a degree in health science, exercise science, not really sure what I wanted to do. Had an opportunity, ran into a friend of mine that was coaching junior high basketball, and he said, "Mike, can you help?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Let's jump on board and give it a shot." And then fell in love with the coaching side of things. It was just, I guess, that competitive nature I was looking for and needed to kind of get going. Took that avenue to figure out how to get involved in teaching and went the non-traditional route and had to learn how to teach and how to learn to be in a classroom and grew from there. That led me to spending 13 wonderful years as the head basketball coach at Middleburg High School, just down the road from us, and living that and loved every minute of it. We obviously, coaching's a struggle up and down that you have to overcome, but the relationships I've built through that time, I coach basketball and softball primarily down there. I've had kids that have gone on to play in NFL, Pro Bowl players. I've had players that have won national championship in softball. I've got a player still playing overseas, and just still communicating with them and having that relationship is the key that's kind of driven me to this side of the house and wanting to be there. Along my journey, I've been blessed. My wife is probably the most important person in my life, and she's blessed us with 4 wonderful children, 4 unique, wonderful children. And as I say that, we have a set of quadruplets, which is probably for most people. See, the facial reaction was what I was expecting to happen there. But, I say that because my journey led me through sports, and my journey allowed me to be with them through sports. My kids were all active growing up. I had the blessing to coach my son, which was tremendous. We had moments where we couldn't talk at home. But looking back now, it was a tremendous blessing. And I relate that to, I was a parent. I was a soccer dad, a volleyball dad, a swim dad. I did all these things. So I understand what our parents need and how to relate to them when it comes to issues.
I think that perspective is so critical to success. You got me thinking about, my own kids, our 3 kids. They all grew up in sports. My wife's a career coach. I got to coach my son in football. I always love to tell the story, driving home from practice. And, I would tell him, I said, "Hey, that last set up downs I made you do, that was for the team." And he goes, "Yeah, Dad, I know." So Those are just those great moments you never forget.
Well, we had that. I remember driving back from a game one time, and Dean and I were talking, and I finally had to look over and said, I can't talk to you anymore. He said, what do you mean? I said, from 7th and 8th grade on, he was my sounding board when we were driving home from games. And then all of a sudden I realized, no, I'm complaining about you and your teammates. I can't do that anymore. I said, we have to have some boundaries. If you're going to come into the house, if I'm watching video, if you lean your head over my shoulder, game on, you've opened the door and we'll go. But I'll never call you in the room and say, hey, look at this. And that was our deal. And we went on and that made us better. But like I said, those 3 years, about 2.5 years, he was on the varsity squad were ups and downs. And I'll never, ever forget those games.
No, absolutely. And like you said, that perspective is just so valuable in dealing with parents at your school. I've had to say more than once, I'm sure you've had, hey, I've sat in your chair before. I know exactly what you're feeling. Well, let's go and talk about that next transition from head basketball coach to running an athletic department. How did that transpire?
Well, during my time in Middleburg, I took the initiative to spend time with Alan Powers, the AD down there at the time, and just to ask questions and get to know, whether we'd sit over lunch and talk and just really want to figure out what his job was and how he did it and what things were different. And quite honestly, I thought in the back of my mind one day I'd be his replacement and just kind of hold on until he was retiring, which is this year, and move into his seat. And 2016, my kids graduated high school, so Dean was done. So it kind of led the door to be open of, okay, what's next in Mike's life and where can you go? And this job opened up because the AD who was here at the time took a promotion, went into admin and has moved up and pursued it. And the principal who's here, Clayton Anderson, is a tremendous guy. Like, he was a former AD, 3 AD at Orange Park, former AD. And we had a relationship already established and, put my name in the hat and kind of told him what I visioned for what Orange Park could be and where I wanted to go. And look, and he liked it. I think the key was showing the initiative with Coach Powers and covering events and just asking questions. And he gave me a lot of rein my last couple of years to do a lot of the eligibility stuff for him and scheduling things for him that others didn't ask for or didn't take. And it just prepared me a little bit to have this door open. I don't know if this door is ever prepared for anybody to walk through it because it's such a unique door. But, I had an insight a little bit of what I was getting myself into.
I always like to talk about the concept of fresh eyes, coming in and being able to see how things are going. When you came into Orange Park, what were some things, maybe one or two, that you thought that they were doing a really good job and you were just hands off, let's keep it going? And then maybe what was something that you saw that they might have been doing good, but you thought they could do even better?
I kind of took the approach when I came in here to kind of just observe a lot of things. I didn't think it was my will to start, changing things. So the first 6 to 8 months was kind of, status quo. Let's see where we're at. Had a brand new football coach who was actually hired 3 months before I was. So we were both trying to figure out, what Orange Park's got going on that we could do together. So the good thing is this is a pretty good coaching staff in terms of they were work for each other. The group we had at the time, they were really on board with trying to help each other at gates and games and after games and to set up. Things we had to do was kind of bring them up to the 21st century a little bit, and get changes in terms of digital paperwork, which, home campus has been a blessing in terms when that come on board, and just get that changed. I say mindset wise, I jumped on board with our school resource officer at the time, and we took the initiative to really dig into our teams, and not just talk to the coaches and meet with them. But we took the initiative to actually go meet with each team preseason and say, hey, this is what it's like to be a Raider. Here are the expectations. Here's what coach will do to you if you don't follow those, but the consequences may go above coach. And then get to know the players and get to be involved. That part of the job, just being in the hallways and fist bumping and shaking hands and high fiving, that's the easy and the fun part of the job that we really dug into that maybe wasn't being hit previous. And the kids responded, so when they saw us, they knew what we were expecting, and how we were going to go about business. And we tried to really build that culture of, hey, we're here for you. I shared with all of them that, hey, I walked your hallways. I've got scars from the gym. I've got scars from the stadium. I've got all the scars on my body that went with playing here, and tried to say, I know where you're at. I know where you come from. And I think that relationship established. I mean, last summer when we were in lockdown and things were different, we had a group of former players that were meeting at the PAL, which is now ran by that resource officer. And at the end of the lockdown, he brought them all together, and I went down there and we fed them lunch and talked to them. And they're like, Coach, you guys actually showed you cared and you invested that time. And that's the relationship we want, and I think all our coaches now are really starting to dive into that culture and that relationship, that it's beyond just X's and O's, and it's beyond winning a game. We're really, we really have to take to build that relationship. These kids, a lot of them don't have things when they come here. We're a lower income area, for the most part. We're a transient area, so we have kids moving in and moving out. And we have to take extra time to build that trust and relationship. And that's been our focus lately.
I think it's so important. You touched on it. You communicated the expectation, you shared it, and then you followed through and you did those things, to build that culture that you talked about. So that's great to see. You talked about the shutdown last spring. So let's go and dive into COVID. Obviously, it's had an impact across the country and here in Florida, of course. We've also seen a variety of responses. Some states have shut down sports completely. Some have gone business as usual. Others have moved the seasons around. And in Florida, we're kind of all over the board in a way. What's happening right now in Orange Park? And for our listeners, we're recording this on September 22nd. So by the time it airs, things may have changed. Hopefully they have changed for the better. But with regard to return to school and return to play in sports, what's happening at Orange Park?
We have brick and mortar school going on. So school's open, school's running. Now, the county-wise, we have virtual options for those who are choosing that. We have what we call a one clay option, which means they're still assigned to Orange Park High School. And we have teachers that are Orange Park High School teachers leading those classes. That way, whenever they transition back to brick and mortar, they're ready. And then we have the clay virtual option that kids can elect to go to. So, that part's been awesome. It's, when we got back going a couple weeks ago, wasn't sure what was going to happen, how it was going to look. The only difference I see today is mask on their face and a seating chart cafeteria. Like everything else seems to be normal. And the kids are really good about, hey, mask on, mask up. And, I think 98% don't have an issue with it. They're so excited to be back to doing a normal routine that none of us were prepared for 6 months off. I mean, I can tell you that about 3 weeks into that shutdown, I woke up one morning and told my wife I'm going to work. She says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'll mow every field 4 times if I have to, but I cannot be here all day long." I said, she goes, and she was teaching. She teaches 4th grade. So she was still online teaching while I'm like, I can't be here. I got to go figure things out and try to find my new norm, not knowing when it's going to end. So with the brick and mortar and the school going on, we're full operation with sports. We've had 2 football games now. We've come some volleyball games, swim meets, cross country meets. Capacity wise, we're running 30% for our stadium, both gym and outside. Our stadium was built in 1962 for our football field, and it's still standing by the grace of God. But we went out and actually painted the front of all the bleachers white. We have a gray backdrop, so it's all white. Painted those to mark off like a checkerboard look, so people have seats that are clear to where to go. And we require face masks when you come in and when you're walking around. The flexibility is if you can maintain 6 feet social distancing when you're in the stadium or in the gym, then we're not gonna police you. We're gonna give you some freedom to let you do that. And I think the games went well. We had so 30%. We're looking at about 800 people we can have here. So capacity wise is lower than what we want financially, but the the fans are awesome. They came through the gate with no problem. We're doing 100% digital ticketing, which was a concern. We wanted to go cashless to avoid any risk of transmission back and forth. And people have been great with it. I mean, even though it costs a little bit more for them, they walk up, they have their phone, they click the buttons. We don't have to touch anything. And it just shows that we're making a genuine effort to make sure that we're doing our part, and I, so far, knock on wood, that this is going to keep going. I don't foresee anything major in our area changing right now. The numbers seem good and classes seem good. And I think the public is ready for us to be back to normal.
Yeah, it's been interesting to hear the ADs talk about the transition to digital ticketing. I see those providers, businesses, blowing up a little bit. So good for them. Curious, how have your students on game night? We've seen and heard about the challenge of keeping kids from clustering together, not so much in the bleachers, but on the grounds. Has that been a challenge for you, and how have you dealt with it?
Yeah, we've only had one home game for football. So that night we didn't set up a pre-assigned student section. We told everybody it was just general seating, and kind of first come, first go. And then they kind of gravitated to the normal area they're in, but they were pretty good. Met with my leadership council yesterday, and they want to find a way to create more of a student section. So we're going to present an idea to the principal to say, all right, we're going to consolidate but mask and kind of keep that spacing. So I think we can handle it. It's just a matter of the numbers. How many people can we actually let in that section? And those are things we're still trying to figure out to go. But like I said, the kids, at least here, they're awesome. I mean, the wearing the mask and doing things they have to do. If I told them that they had to have mask on 24/7, to be on campus, they would do it. And just because they want to see the events and go on. I mean, we have a great group of students who want to get involved, athletes, non-athletes, that are excited to be back to normal. And I keep using that word, but that's where I feel like we were at. I mean, it was so hard on these kids to be home for 6 months and not knowing, and none of us could really tell them what was going to happen next, because we didn't know. We're just following information we had and hoping for the best. And and now that the state's letting us play, I think we can create a way to meet their needs as like a student section, and tell them how to sit and stand and what to do. And I think we can make it work.
Well, again, you touched on another important item, talking to your leadership council and getting the kids involved. So they've got ownership. Mike, another question we've been asking our EDs has to do with this idea of, social awareness, social justice, if you will. The events of last spring in Minneapolis and Atlanta, and a month or so ago in Wisconsin, have really brought that to the forefront. And my question is, what are some things that we can do as athletic directors to do a better job with our kids, with our communities in this area of social awareness?
It's a great question, and it's such a fine line for schools to get involved with, left or right, and go. And I think the main thing that I've done recently is try to educate myself. I think I've been aware of things going on, but I don't know if I was totally eyes open and looking at everything. So not saying that I didn't understand or didn't care, but I've tried to read more and not just Twitter and Instagram, but actually dive into backline stories and try to educate myself on the things that are going around. And along with that, listen, let's talk to them. Let's have open dialogue. I think we need to listen to them. If we listen to the kids that have concerns and or want to express their opinions, we may not be able to do anything on campus that necessarily as a school that opens up and says, hey, this is where our stance is. But I think we can help support them in their cause and help find them medians to go out and do things. I think they just want to be heard and want to be listened to. And I think us educating ourselves on where their fights are and what the beliefs are comes from sitting down and having an open, genuine conversation with them, and then being honest with them about where as educators, we can go left or right. As an Orange Park athletic director, I can't come out and necessarily say one side or the other is what we're doing. Now, Mike Harrison has a stance that he can believe in, and he can help direct kids to, and go. And I think we're at a time to where, we can make a difference. We have kids that generally have valid opinions and valid beliefs. And I think we have an opportunity as educators to help guide their minds where they go, help guide them to make decisions that not only affect them, but will be positive to those around them, and grow from that. And, when I've had conversations with the Leadership Council, I've had conversations with some individual kids about things that are going on. And I also talked to them about, hey, Friday nights, or Tuesday night volleyball matches, whatever it is, or are we unit? Are we unified in what we're doing? I don't want anybody feeling as though they're isolated or put aside. And, and I think if we educate ourselves and have that dialogue, I think we can really make an impact in helping them grow their decision-making processes.
That's great stuff. Again, it's coming back. It's clear to see you always involve the kids in that. Let's go and shift gears a little bit. With being an AD, we always say it's about the kids, and the best part of the job is in kids, and it's certainly true. But outside of that, okay, what are some of the favorite parts of your job? What gets you excited about coming to work each day?
I can't just say the kid. I'm just, the great part about this job is tomorrow is different than today. It's never 2 days the same. Listen, I told you before, we had a lockdown drill at 10:40 today. I did not know we had a lockdown drill when I got here this morning. That was my fault for not paying attention, I guess, but, it was on us. And I like that. When I was teaching in class, I liked when I knew the school year was going to end. The next new year was a new year kind of thing, and seasons were the same thing as a coach. This job is day-to-day different, and I like that energy and that enthusiasm. Obviously, we're in it for kids. We're not, if any other reason why an AD or a coach is involved in doing what they do, it's the wrong reason, in my opinion. So we're here for them. But I like the fast pace. I like the energy. I like the day-to-day changes that come with evolving and growing. I've got so many things going on right now that my plate of projects on campus is beyond belief. We've got new lights going at the baseball field right now. We've got a new AC unit going to the gym. There's just so many little projects going on that are just fun to watch evolve. And I mentioned when I took this job, I told Clayton Anderson, I said, I'm going to make Orange Park's facilities the best in Clay County. And then when they're the best in Clay County, I want to make them the best in North Florida. And he goes, well, how are you going to do it? I said, I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out. Typical school day bell going off. I'll figure that out and go. And he said, all right, let's figure this out. And, our stadium, we have a brand new track we put in, so that project was done. The baseball field's been completely redone. We have a fabulous gym. If you've ever been over here to see it, it's an actual dome. It's not a gymnasium for a school. And, just seeing all this development, all this growth, and seeing the kids get to experience it, that just makes me go. I try to be positive when I get here. I try to put a smile on my face when I get here. Not always easy. There are days where, things don't go the way you want it, and it affects you. But, I think generally, the fact that it's always going different and the kids are excited and you get to see them reward from it is the key.
No, the variety that you alluded to, as I like to tell, parents will say, oh, Jake, I'd hate to have your job and this and that. I said, no, I got the best job in the world. You have to work for a living. I get to come and hang out with kids and coaches and, watch games. So, yeah, it's a great, the variety especially keeps you going. Well, Mike,
I've got coaches who don't know if they want my job. So,
well, no, they want it until they got it. It's like everybody wants the backup quarterback. Yeah. This has really been great to get to know you, but we're not quite done. We always like to end with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, your job right now is to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. what 3 items are going to go in Mike Harrison's athletic director toolbox?
Listening to your other podcasts and wondering about this question has kind of been the, all right, where am I going to go with this? And what did I have? And I can tell you that I bought a $5 book from Walmart. I hope you can see me. Something just popped up on my screen. So $5 book from Walmart. I put a decal on it so it looks official. But get something that you can write everything down with. This day comes so fast, like I alluded to earlier. Exactly. I mean, if I don't write it down, I will forget it. And that's not a knock on us as ADs. It's an illusion of how fast this day can go. We get here in the morning, you have a game plan, you set up, it's like coaching, you set up your practice plan, and things evolved. And if I don't write it down in that book, it will get forgot. And then I'll be the one suffering later on from not doing it. The next thing I would add is find a mentor's phone number and don't be afraid to use it. And expand on that fund. I guess I can say too is I left Middleburg and Alan Powers is one of my dear friends and I call him a lot. But I expanded that and got outside my comfort zone as people I call too. Because I'm into this, my 5th year doing this job. And I can tell you, I don't know what I don't know. And tomorrow is going to give me a new challenge that I'll have to find a way to answer and learn, and go and reach out to guys who already know it. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone call and go. And the last, and this is the new one to me is take the NIAAA classes. Get involved in those things. COVID did a great job of giving me the freedom and flexibility to spend some time doing research about, how am I conducting my job? Am I good at what I do? What can I do better? And it's probably more of what I can do better than what I'm good at right now. But live those and I start taking the classes. I wish I'd have taken them year 1. I wish I'd have taken the initial RTI classes and just got going right away and set up maybe a better foundation for where I'm at. So I would say, get those going. I want to get through the CAA process and have that part of my resume, even though I'm not looking to use a resume, just have it part of it. And just continue to grow as Mike Harrison. So, to cap that, everything written down, find good mentors, call me, if look up Mike Harrison, Orange Park High School. If you're in Florida, I'll listen to you and talk to you. And then I'll point you in my direction. I'll share my network of people I talk to, and get involved in taking the NIAAA classes. Unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to attend many conferences statewide or nationally. No excuse. My son was in college, and it seemed like every year he was coming home at the same time in May. And I was not going to be able to justify to mom that, hey, I'm going to go to Orlando or Tampa or wherever. And a few of those years I was driving to North Carolina to pick him up from school. But now, the next time we have one in person or virtual, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna expand my horizons and get more involved and become a better leader here on campus by growing my knowledge, my skill set.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I've never done this before. We got to go back, okay? I didn't ask you about your mentors, okay? And that's such an important part of our job. So we're going to do that right now. Who are some of your mentors? Either coaches or teachers growing up, or people that you've worked for or worked with. You've already mentioned a couple, but mention them again if you want to. Whose voice do you still hear when you go out to work each day?
Well, okay, first and foremost, my parents. My mom and dad set the foundation for what I think I am. They were a hardworking middle class family that taught me some boundaries of what to do and taught me how to do things and encouraged me to do it. They challenged me to get where I'm at and do the things and I can still hear them and I make a focus to try to make them proud. That's still important to me. They're up in age, but knowing that I do the right thing and make them proud is important. I had a teacher in junior high school that anybody in this area probably knows. His name was Joe Baldwin. Coach Baldwin was an athletic director at Orange Park Junior High for a number of years. Unfortunately, passed away a couple years ago. But he had an input of he's what I want to be. Once I kind of started thinking about teaching, I'm like, okay, what kind of coach and what kind of teacher do I want to be? And Coach Baldwin was it. Like he had the ability to make every kid feel important, yet still you knew when you didn't do things right or when you were wrong, he was going to get to you. And that was 7th and 8th grade, here locally in Orange Park that, he just made that resounding impact, and listen, Coach Powers, the AD at Orange, Middleburg, he's, like I said, he's one of my dear friends. We talk regularly. I miss seeing him, daily when I was all that time down there. But if it wasn't for his willingness and acceptance to help me, guide me, tell me I'm crazy sometimes, tell me when I'm wrong, and show me how to develop a coach. I mean, there was plenty of times he had to call me in his office and say, we're not doing that, or you can't do this, or what happened in that scenario. I mean, all the way up until my last year there, I mean, he wasn't afraid to pull me in. I'm like, he kind of laid that foundation. Now his job, he was there for 35 years, so he was AD for probably 25 of those. And I'm kind of guessing numbers, and his job's changed for what I have, but he still laid that foundation. People are going to see your facilities when they show up. The first thing they're going to remember about Orange Park High School is, how do your facilities look? And that's me. If my football field does not look good Friday night when Rains High School shows up, they're going to remember. If things aren't clean and organized, they're going to remember. And that's the pride that Alan Powers stuck with me is, you own I like to say the back half of the house. The athletic department is yours. If you run the back half of the house and you make sure your facilities look great and you make sure your ducks are in a row, people will remember that. And I had that conversation. I had a conversation with Clayton Anderson, my principal, Friday night after the game. We were driving back. He made a reference to something, and I said, right now, Clayton, I think our fields are as good as anybody else around here. And he goes, actually, I agree. And it's a pride in what I do, and that comes from Alan Powers. And plain and simple, if it wasn't for him as my AD for 13 years, I don't know if I desire to be this job and go where I'm at. And, I owe him a lot.
Well, again, I just think it's so great to hear about the people that have influenced, everyone. And, we don't get here by ourselves. We're certainly do it through the support of others. So thanks so much for sharing that and reminding me to have you share.
100%.
Well, Mike, this has been, as I said, it's been great. Hope we continue to cross paths. Certainly, reach out if you have any questions about NIAAA and the LTC process. To our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD. Thanks again for listening to this episode. Remember, the videos are being uploaded to the Educational AD FIAAA YouTube channel. Thanks for listening, and please go to YouTube and check out our video files. Have a great day.